Give thanks and praise, much
Whoop,
love
whoop.
and respect. Greetings out there in YouTube world. Got my buddies PK and Chris Miner going live with me tonight. We're going to talk some wild stuff.
As we should. How you guys doing? What's up, chat?
What's
Good
going
to
on?
see y'all. It's been a minute.
How you guys been?
Wonderful.
Good.
Wonderful.
I started a normie job, so that kind of sucks. But
Damn.
other than that, good, great.
Yeah.
Nice. Big
What
love,
about
James Kaplan. I see you out there, buddy.
What you been up to, Gabe?
James?
Oh my goodness. Tackling the onslaught of paperwork and bureaucracy. Battling the bureaucracy at large. That's been my jam. But
Did you mention that the DMV became the BMV?
yeah, man.
Like, where? What state?
In Indiana. So maybe it is.
Really?
Maybe it's only in Indiana. Maybe my
Yeah, because I
question.
looked that up. I'm like, nah. I'm like, that's I gotta fact check you.
That's cool. No, that's cool. Maybe that's
But,
important.
it's the bureau. I mean, that's fitting. It's so fitting because it is.
Yeah, and you know
Such
something
a bureau.
else I've learned. Like, I've been hitting a wall with getting paperwork together with my vehicle, and I'm finding out that the reason why I've been hitting this wall is because Indiana is an exception to a great many rules for what I'm trying to suss out here. And so yes, in Indiana, it's the BMV. And I think this is super significant. And I don't know why. But I just know that these little tweaks and adjustments jurisdictionally, they create paralleled realities. You know what I mean? And so when I'm asking the question to everybody, they're looking up their local and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. But here I am in a parallel reality where they don't call it the department. It's now called the bureau. And I don't like it.
It's interesting
Man, so
that
what's the difference, like legally, between a department and a bureau? So I know here in Florida, one of the things that I think is kind of weird, and this may be kind of normal in other states, but the DMV is just like the tax collector. They are basically outsourced to private companies.
Okay.
So the DMV is like a private company acting as, government. But
Wow.
even the so yeah, it'll be like to go, if you have to go in to do your registration, you go into like Jeanette Lewis tax collector or some bullshit. It's not even like you're going into a government bill. It doesn't say like Department of Florida, motor vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So I wondered if it's like that, and the bureau is actually state run in Indiana.
That's that's an interesting question. It also makes me think of the Ninth Amendment and the enumerated powers. And maybe there's something in the answer that brings us to that Ninth Amendment. But yeah,
it's interesting you said that because I saw something weird that is almost the same, but not really. Just online, I saw that there was a news station that was created called BNN, and by Bloomberg. It's like, so instead of CNN, they're now the Bloomberg News Network, BNN, and I thought that was really just like out of nowhere and weird.
yeah, kind of rhymes with Bannon too, right?
Yeah,
Steve,
just like
BNN.
I mean, I immediately thought CNN, and I was like, well, that's a weird, just like unoriginal way to just switch things.
Your driver's license says not a valid ID. Where are you?
Dude, there are so many catch-22s in bureaucracy. It's out of control. My favorite one is the back of everybody's social security card. It says, this is the property of the Department of whatever, some department, governmental department. And then right under that, it actually says, if you find this and it does not belong to you, return it to its owner. So that means they're telling you this card you have does not belong to you. It belongs to us. And if you realize that it's not your card, you should send it back to us. And so everybody's social security card on the back of it is fascinating. It's almost like a koan.
What address do we send it back to? Have we got that far?
Actually, I think it's in yeah, I do. I think it's in Plantation, Florida.
Probably has to be notarized.
Oh,
by, like,
right.
I think
Right.
it goes to Plantation, Florida. And Plantation,
Yeah,
Florida,
okay.
allegedly, when Trump had a nuclear football going one direction and Biden had a nuclear football going the other direction, at the last handoff, there were 2 nuclear footballs on the field for one day. And on that day, there was a huge cyber surge out of Plantation, Florida. And a lot of people think that that was the birthing of the dead internet, and that all of this storage data stuff that we thought was lost to the annals of time was actually captured and brought to life like a zombie horde. Maybe that's where all the bots were resurrected out of that day.
Yeah, there is something. Did you talk about Plantation, Florida one time, or did
Yeah, because
you share a
yeah,
video
because
on it?
I just talked about it because a lot of the Social Security departmental threads go through there. But,
Okay.
but you know, in the sovereign scene, a lot of people think that all of our birth certification is rooted in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
That Puerto Rico is really where our umbilical cord enters into the earth. And that's pretty far out stuff. That is far out stuff. Yeah, keeping us in international waters, right?
Yeah. And that's where, like, they say you have to send your certified mail to if you want to say you're not a debtor, you're a creditor, and you don't want to, you want your taxes or whatever the hell, you're not paying taxes anymore. If that works, I have no idea.
Yeah, it's so fascinating how changing your banking status is more parallel to a lot of spiritual rites of passage. Yeah, tons of spiritual rites of passage. So, you guys, you mind if I try to share the scene from the Marvel's WandaVision, from the film WandaVision? You guys want to play that? Just to
Do
kind of
that.
set up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for anybody who has not seen all of our lives and all of the threads that we love to pull on, one of my favorite threads that PK really has done a lot of diligence with is this thread about the Argo Navis constellation, which is a minor deacon of Cancer. It's in the southern sky. And at one time, it was the largest constellation by size, by far, by a long shot. And in 1930-ish, over a long period of processing, the IAU dismantled this largest constellation and broke it into 3 pieces. And it became the Pupus, the Carinid, the Pupus, the Carina, and the Vela.
What year?
Here, I'll share this graphic real quick.
Nice, thank you. Yeah, 1930-ish. It was essentially in the percolation between the First and Second World War. And they were dismantling this Argo Navis and making it like a lower profile. It's only seen in the southern hemisphere for the most part, except for the veil. Only the veil peaks up to where we can see it from our vantage point. And yes, and it's got
it was this big, 1667 square degrees, is a typo, and 676 stars. So the next biggest constellation, which is the biggest now, is Hydra, and it's 1300 square degrees with only 238 stars. So when they split it up, and they did it in Rome, go figure.
On April 20. April 22nd. April 22nd is the peak of the Lyrid meteor showers. In the last episode I did with Chris, we were talking about that the magical battle with Doctor Strange, where he strums the one chord that sends his evil guardian on the threshold, flying out the window to get impaled on a fence.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
And what was interesting too about so here's the Argo Navis, and you can see here it's 3. It's this what's it? Carine, Pupus, and Velarum.
right.
And
Which I gotta say, I think Velorum is it's not spelled exactly that way, but I think that is Francis Bacon's nickname, and it means both like a certain material that the scribes used to write on, but it also means a plague. It's kind of a double entendre pun word. So yeah, Francis Bacon's code name, I think, hails to this sail, which drives
Sail, yeah.
the economy. Sails drive the economy. But go ahead.
And so what's cool about it, if you just go from kind of the middle of the boat right through Sirius, draw a line through there, it goes right to the torch of Orion, which is the summer solstice. So I don't know what that means, but I think it's just very fitting, interesting of like, you know, the largest constellation being split up into 3 because it was considered too large and unwieldy as a single constellation, making it difficult to study and reference individual stars within its vast area. So it was just too big and too glorious. Had to split it up.
When you guys are hearing that, like, I'm sure you all hear like how that could easily be like this intelligence agency was too large and too glorious, and we had to split it up. But then it could be like almost symbolism for something like that being split up into pieces, and Hydra is now one of the pieces, and Pupus, whatever, a dog sort of symbol would represent, is another one of the organizations. It's almost like, I wonder if there is a parallel in that happening in
it's like our it's like the placenta, the person, or like the human being, and then the person.
Yeah.
Right.
It's multi-level.
Split up into 3.
Yes. And so I've always appreciated this Argo Navis constellation as fulfilling all of the sacred vessels from mythology. You know, when Jason and the Argonauts, they get on a sacred boat and they go on an adventure through the sequences of the heavens. And this is, you know, it's in the name Jason, Jason. Well, that's July, August, September, October, November, spells Jason. This Ship of Theseus, it's a beautiful and glorious thing in the philosophic realm, which is this Ship of Theseus enigma is just a question which we're gonna play a little video about. But I love the fact that I use the Argo Navis, much like the Ship of Theseus. Even if I'm in a different story, I'm still using the Argo Navis. It's still the same template, and it still plays the same role and holds the same consistency through the myths. So I'm just going to do a little screen share, and this is a fair use statement in advance. Fair use, Ave Maria. And let's see. Yeah. This is from WandaVision, where her husband, who is already AI synthetic, he's basically like the best mansplainer sex machine a woman could ask for.
He's like a digital twin, right?
Yeah, kind of. And he's also the Thoth Hermit card, fellas. Remember what we were talking about, the Doge? How the Doge family crest from Venice? It is embodied in the Hermit card. Well, our guy Vision here is a walking Thoth deck Hermit card costume. And he's about to fight his white nemesis, maybe. His white guilt is coming to catch up with him.
Or the gray.
Or the gray.
Why are you doing this? My programming directive is to destroy the vision.
Okay, so I got to stop just briefly and probably mention the library. We're seeing a Library of Alexandria. Are we seeing the Library of
Destroy the
the
vision.
in the book burning, and even the what's the name of Steiner's building that he made?
The Girthanium, I think, or Geothanium,
The
Geothanium, or
Girthanium.
Girthanium, one of the one or the other.
Yes. Are we seeing a cosmodrama of the burning of the Girthanium, which is a totally fascinating subject that someday I'm going to dig into, because I want to see what the stars were doing. I want to see what the stars were doing when the Girthanium burned down.
I'm pretty sure it was around this time. I feel like it was in April, but I could be wrong.
Right. And the Girthanium was built out of real high grade violin wood, which is so profound to me. That's so meaningful and profound. But
So
go ahead.
check this out real quick. Where I think this ties into the vision thing, but the three parts of Argo Navis, Carina is one of the three constellations. And right here, it's the first event in a ship's construction.
Wow.
Right. And they say that, the placenta is the first thing created and, to sustain us, baby. Next, pupus, classical architecture, to refer to the inner chamber of a temple which houses an idol. That's kind of interesting, right? And then
guess what meteor shower is happening right now? Is it the Pi Pupid meteor shower is happening right now?
What
and
a name.
Tomorrow is the closing off of the Lyrid meteor shower, which I found out actually picks up in a few days and becomes the North Lyrids, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
See, and then so you got Latin here, pupus, meaning a doll or a small image. So see how it's like the other kind of?
Wow, it's a homunculus.
Right.
It's also like a conjuring.
Yeah,
and then over here you got the sail we were just talking about. So anything flying or moved by the wind, a streamer, flag, or a banner. So like both of these, kind of relate to that, that legal name, doll, very like you could see here the metaphysical, esoteric implications. I mean, obviously, Carina, the first thing is ship's construction, but then these two kind of blend together because it's like your legal person is your doll or image,
like the
right?
like the goyim or golem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the it's also kind of your sail as well, your vellum, because it is kind of what you go do commercial with.
Yeah.
It's what you go out into the world using, right?
Mm-hmm.
Introducing yourself as. So they kind of relate. But I feel like we could put one of them as in like, maybe the vellum is the real you. And then this is your legal name. And then of course, that's the placenta, obviously.
Right. Yeah. I'm thinking that the velum might be your actual words. And in the past, the capturing of the words of characters in art was once upon a time ribbon. It was depicted as just a ribbon in the picture, and the words the person was saying was just like a ticker tape. It was just like ticker tape, and the words of the character in comic art was on a strip or a ribbon floating around them. And so I wonder if that is availing yourself. Like the word obligation really means opening your gates, or your open gates are showing.
Well, that all matches onto that like band of Pisces symbolism. Yeah.
The band, yes, the band. PK, thank you so much for keeping up on all the loose ends, man. The
Yeah,
band.
I listened back to your messages. I had to go through a lot of shaman's messages, but finally found yours. And finally found yours. And yeah, I heard you mentioning something about the band not being or you couldn't put it anywhere because like yeah, it's not, and that's telling why, because let's bring up what we're talking about here.
Especially if
While
it's
we're
like
on
a
this, then we'll
frequency.
get back to the video. Talking about this. So present, share. So we're talking about the minor deacons. There are 36 minor deacons. The band, or sometimes called the bands, are I think the first deacon, minor deacon of Pisces. I think. Anyway, it is a deacon of Pisces for sure.
Okay.
But the reason, you're not going to find on any maps because it's actually part of the Pisces constellation. And it's, this is a better depiction here. You got a band around the tails of the fish and, it kind of connects the two. So it's that, V that is the band.
Right. And there
Yeah.
is so much going on right now in that constellation. There is so much going on in that constellation. Everybody put a mental note on that constellation in the band because we just had the smiley face moon took
Dude,
place.
it looks just like it. It is Venus and Saturn and the moon were actually the middle of the triangle that they made was the spring equinox point.
Yeah.
Right there by the southern fish.
Yeah, man.
In the same shape of the bands that we just showed.
Yes. Now I'm going to go back to the Marvel thing because I want everybody to just kind of marvel at how we can talk about this one thing in the sky and then go watch this video clip and come back to the thing in the sky and not be distant in subject matter. Like we are really, is spread out and scattered as it seems. It really is not. And by the end of tonight, after we go through Stellarium, it's all going to come back to the band and how all these planets have aligned in this location. It's really fun. So, just keep some of the visuals of that constellation, I think, are actually in the scene here. Okay, here we go. Is that good? You guys seeing it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not the true vision. Only a conditional vision. I request elaboration. You are familiar with the thought.
Okay, I just want to mention a star chamber. I request elaboration. I need a special session to sit in the side door jurisdiction of informality with the judge.
Experiment the Ship of Theseus in the field of identity metaphysics.
Okay.
Identity metaphysics.
Doesn't that word just open entire conversations? There's a field of identity metaphysics, while the immigration crisis is sending people running for their lives here, there, and everywhere right now. They're telling us, oh, didn't you know there was a field of identity metaphysics?
Can we get a quick little background? I think I've seen this movie, but it's been a real long time. So the one dude, the white dude, is AI, right? And the other guy is the real one. Is that the like what are we watching here? That's the thing, right? Because it's like the field of identity. Who's the real one?
Well,
but like,
both,
I guess who was the first one?
Yeah, the red one was the first AI turned into like a sentient sort of AI by Iron Man, right?
Yep,
And
yep.
Thor helped with his friggin' hammer, I think, right? Yeah.
Yes, Tony Stark and Thor created this vision.
From
And
the
I-
voice, right? It was the thing that was in his helmet. Always the what's his name?
oh yeah, what is his name?
He's like, it's not.
That's a funny comment. I was just looking up. I just looked through all the band's songs, name of their songs, to see if there's a connection. That's funny.
I know who you're talking about, Chris, but I forget
Yeah.
his name. It's like his butler
Yeah.
AI becomes Vision. Now, I just want to parallel for PK. I think you can think of the Red Vision as what everybody thought 23andMe was going to be. It's like, oh, we're to give our blood, and they'll tell us all about our family, and maybe, and you have to choose whether you believe them or not. You choose whether their data sets are broad enough to actually give you this kind of omnipotence, omniscience. Does 23andMe have the omniscience that they pretend to have? And are you going to, buy into them telling you who your grandmother was or wasn't more than what your
Yeah.
own grandmother's supposed to? So yeah, I think of that as the WandaVision who's in red. And now all of a sudden 23andMe is about to sell out, and the government's going to take it and do things we did not agree to those terms.
Emily Moyer, shout out Emily, said the most profound thing on one of her streams a little while ago about how there was some agency or something that had a clause in there saying that, I forget what agency it is, but it's kind of important. Maybe someone knows, or maybe one of you guys know.
UNESCO?
No, but it had to do with that they have to like continue doing business with Israel or something.
Oh,
So it was like this like weird clause that they like kind of under the guise of anti-Semitic or anti-Semitic. So like pro, Semitic or whatever, pro-Israel guys.
yeah.
And she connected, I think it was so brilliant what she said, that the reason that was in there, it's not about the anti-Semitic thing. It's about Israel is going to be the new hub essentially for this IT information stuff, talking about the 23andMe and all that. So they put in there this like clause that like it was something like you can't boycott Israel, I think was the like stipulation, like you can't boycott Israel. And connecting those dots was so profound that it's because of they're going to be the like new and already like taking steps there. They're really big in this IT stuff.
And I bet if you ask Emily, she wouldn't even say it's going to be machines. She would probably say it's going to be in the population. And it's weird because there is a Netanyahu like interview he gave right at the end of 2023-ish, right? I think the end of lockdowns, where he was like, the rollout of the jabs was a success. We are going to be able to store information within the human body soon. I mean, what if the population of Israel is the storage unit? That's why you can't attack them, because that's our backup data.
Yeah, man. It's like they're going to make it the genetic Elohim city.
Yeah.
And the storage centers might actually be the copper tops. So I'm going to play a little more of this clip, just because of the way that the fight rolls, the way that they're entangled as it climaxes. I think it relates back to the band there, which tells me that they're actually pointing at a specific time of year, like the scene of WandaVision is. Hold on.
I know what it was. Just to wrap this up, it was the National Institute of Health.
Oh
yeah.
The National Institute of Health made their employees. They had this clause in there saying like the anti-boycott. You can't boycott Israel, and they had to like agree to it to remain or whatever, be an employee. It's just wild. It's like, why you have to agree to continue if you want. This is coming back to me now. If you want to continue like your federal government funding, NIH is like the number one federal government funding that funds clinical research and crap like that. So a lot of it goes through NIH if it's not private or whatever. And so if you want to play ball, you had to agree to this, that in the future, you can't boycott Israel. And again, connecting the dots of like, they're going to be the, information
that
hub.
makes
That's
sense
where
too.
everything's going to go through.
Makes sense with NIH coming out of UK and the
Yeah.
connection with Israel and England, or the British Isles.
Big time. All right, here we go.
Today. The Ship of Theseus is an artifact in the museum. Over time, its planks of wood rot and are replaced with new planks. When no original plank remains, is it still the Ship of Theseus? Secondly, if those removed planks are restored and reassembled free of the rot, is that the Ship of Theseus?
Oh. Yeah.
Make it stop.
My bad. Oh man, that went all bonkers. I hit the wrong button. So yes, the Ship of Theseus, you can you piece by piece, you replace it with all new pieces. Is it still the Ship of Theseus? And once you get an answer to that, then they come in, then they rebuild the Ship of Theseus also. So it's actually a very, very nuanced philosophical conundrum. And I just want to say this while we're kind of still on the thread about DNA. I'm starting to think about those of us who are lateral thinkers. We have an intrinsic reflex opinion to the idea that, okay, if my family member goes and gives their DNA, is my consent being circumvented? Because if my family member gives their DNA, they're only 1 degree away from having my DNA. And so in the strangest way, your family members can inform on you.
Totally.
And I think that's really that's dangerous, especially considering if you've watched Gattaca and seen what the pre-crime of DNA is going to expand into, and what it's already served as already. Incriminating people with bad science, totally weaponized, politicalized science. So I just want to say this while we're on this thread of DNA is informing on your friends and family, or only your family. I'm looking at the AI overhaul that's about to take place, and I'm realizing, like, in the most fascinating way, a lot of what has already been put out here without the AI, it's kind of like our blood offering, the putting out your brain children, your genetics, your the way that you work. You know what I mean? So a lot of like the slick dissident conceptual art expression is just, it's a free for all. It's an orphaned child with no papers out there in the ethers. And then somebody comes along and adopts the slick dissident mentality and puts and repackages it and serves it up. And they don't call it slick dissident, they call it dissident slick. You know what I mean? These are fascinating times that we're living in, and I just want to speak on it in the context of this scene where Vision is fighting the next generation, the new cool thing, the next innovation of the way forward.
And I should say how appropriate then for apparently this, I guess the WandaVision show is supposed to be taking place in New Jersey. So you have the Edison Tesla type of thing right there in the mythology of it.
That's right. I forgot it was in Jersey where all the drones were. And where Uncle Crowley might be buried. Did you ever piss on his grave?
No, because he had his ashes spread apparently in I think Summit, New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, so no grave.
Okay. So the Ship of Theseus, isn't that fascinating, PK? Did you ever watch WandaVision at all?
I know I watched it, but I don't remember it, so I need to watch it again. But no, Disney Plus, I don't know if anyone else is experiencing this, but I don't pay for that crap. I use Friends and Netflix, and now Disney Plus has started to be like, you're not part of the household.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, do you guys share Netflix and have the same experience? Anyone in chat? It's just me. So like they're getting people, and I'm like, how can they brainwash people if they're trying to get, you know, oh, you're not part of the household? Isn't brainwashing people more important than whatever, you know, $7 a month or whatever it is?
Right. Man, that's such a good
Sometimes
point.
it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's very weird.
Right. And how can they might lose track of what you've been programmed on specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I need to watch that again.
Well, that fight scene is a culmination. It's you could tell that they really put a lot of intentionality into it, because it's pretty much just before the climax of the whole film, and but I think it's just moments before they end everything.
You know what's interesting too? Watching it, it reminds me of the ending of the one Superman movie, or I don't know if it's the ending, but it's close to the ending. The one with Henry Cavill, where it's his uncle, I think it comes, and he's like Michael Shannon, I think, and he breaks his. It's like he's shooting the lasers out of his eyes, kind of like he's shooting the lasers out of his head. Has him in the headlock, but Superman breaks his neck instead of like
Wow.
they don't have a conversation.
Interesting.
I remember now what the Ship of Theseus is about. It's about if you take a plank out of the ship to repair it, and you repair it with another plank, is it still the ship? Yeah. Well, if you replace all the planks, you know, one by one over time, is it still the Ship of Theseus? Yeah, it is. And here's the conundrum. Well, what if then I took all the planks I took out over time and repaired and made another ship using those old planks? Is that the Ship of Theseus?
And
that's a conundrum.
Yeah, well, and the issue too here is they argue basically for memory being the key to that, but that's also then being like, well, if you just put your memory in a synthetic version of you, it's you. But that's really not you.
Yes, this is so crucial. Okay, we got to take this slow and steady, fellas. There's so much here. So one point I've heard is that when you're asking about one plank, two planks, half of the planks have replaced the first ship, some people will say after the halfway point, now it's a different ship. And so there's even that question of those people who theoretically entertain that there is a change point. The question is, at what point does it change to be a different ship?
See, this probably wouldn't have been an issue if they didn't make it a ship and they made it a biological entity.
That's the next part of it is that your cells, you know, you're not the same you that you were, you know, whatever they say, 7 years or whatever it is, but certainly not as a kid. You're noticeably different.
But if someone else came in and changed your parts with like metal parts and it wasn't something that happened naturally, then people might say immediately, like, you're starting to be changed.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's the aspect of a name change, right? Like it's easier to just change your name than it is to go 7 years until every cell has rebuilt
itself. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to put this on the conversation. I heard just recently that in the West, there's a large sentiment about money as the root of all evil, or the love of money.
I heard that.
The being possessed by money is the root of all evil. Turns out in the East, it is said that the loss of memory is the root of all evil. And these two worldviews, I think, are very complementary to each other.
Very
complementary.
I'm seeing it.
You're seeing it, aren't you? So
right now I am.
So when I walk into your store and I want to take something from your store, you are happy to overlook and forget that object was even there. And you're so thrilled to let me just walk out and take your object if I give you the magical formula to forget. If I give you these pieces of paper with these sigils, then you've agreed. What item? I don't know what item you're talking about. That item's long gone because you have permission to overlook that I just took something from your store.
Right.
So
The other side to that of the ship, and kind of goes with the loss of memory, is the other side of the argument is that, well, no, it's the same ship because it's about the form, it's about the idea. The idea of the ship of Theseus remains it's like its substance or whatever, it remains the ship of Theseus. So that's the idea, and it correlates with what you just said, the loss of memory. Well, once no one remembers that it's the ship of Theseus, then it's not.
totally.
So
Yes, I love this idea that both the obsession, being possessed by the love of money is the root of evil, versus loss of memory is the root of all evil. It very much makes me think of Jesus's last words, where he says, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." And I've wondered if there's a little twist in the translation from way back from the East that sounds more like, uh, "Forgive them, Father, so that they no longer remember what they do." And isn't it profound how a lot of people are into accessing their past lives? And I'm not trying to access my past lives because I have enough in this life to deal with. And taking on any of the burdens of any of my past lives, for one, it's hubristic, but for two, you're inviting out of context trauma. You might onboard trauma that you don't know the full context to. And so I think that the fact that if reincarnation is a thing, if it is a thing, I think the greatest blessing about it is that we forget. And that seems to be kind of the terms of the agreement around reincarnation is, yeah, okay, you can come back, but you don't get to have your memory. And I don't think we would want it if we could.
So I got to ask a question. What do you think happens when we die? I know you don't have an answer. I don't think anyone really does.
Yeah, man.
But certainly you've thought about it.
Yeah.
What are
Yeah.
some of your thoughts about what happens after we go from here?
Man.
I have a couple thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I think that the spirit of the time that we were here, it has a lot of opportunities to persevere. And the best vessel for having the spirit of the time that you were here last beyond your final day, the best vessel is your children. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. And it's so obvious. It's absolutely so obvious because they take on your likeness. They even have the shape of you. And they become the ideal vessel for your greatest opportunity to influence the realm and impact things is best substantiated by your progeny. And the more that they understand your inner mechanics and the way that you work, the better they become a chance for immortality. That's really what your children are. It's a chance for immortality. And I think and that truth is a hard smack in the face for pet lovers. You know, a lot of people are like, I'll just have a dog. I'll just have a pet. And that'll be my child. And you're like, that is less than half stepping. Y'all are less than half stepping. Putting an animal in place of a child, that's some antinatalism shit right there. So yeah, I think the best thing we have for immortality is to pass our genetics forward and instill our likeness as deeply and as intimately with the next generation. Is that a good answer?
I mean, it was an answer, but I want to push a little bit more. So I hear you, and like, I love that answer, really. But so what do you think happens though to you? Because it's not like you become your kid. Your kid is their own individual thing. I think, possibly, your kid's kid or, great grandkids or whatever, you could jump back in as, if there is a tie to this, DNA, spirit, whatever. But what happens when you die? Do you go into a dream? Do you go into nothing? Do you think it's like it is before you were born?
You know, I like Nietzsche's Eternal Return the most. And I hate to borrow from somebody else, cop out and answer somebody else's answer, but I like the Eternal Return the most. And that is that when you die, you just come back and do the exact same thing exactly without anything changing whatsoever. Because it has no dependency on the hereafter. And if you're stockpiling some kind of credit in the afterlife, if you're like hoping to get your laurels or your special seat or your special treatment afterwards, that's a Pascal's wager of sorts. You know what I mean? And I like the Nietzsche's Return because it puts all of the priority on the present, on the immediate, on what you can do here and now. However, I do think that a great amount of what we can instill onto our genetic lineage, I think that is an echo. You're actually creating music when you imprint onto your child, and the music that you create onto your child is a song that will repeat onto children you'll never meet. You know what I mean? And in a way, but it has the most fidelity to your genetics through your own family. But you could even say if my child grows up and becomes a teacher and starts doing things that I taught her to other people's children, you know what I mean? She's really playing my song onto the lives of other genetics around her.
Gabriel, you're really avoiding the soul. What do you think happens to the soul in the spiritual realm? You're really avoiding it.
Oh, man. Good question, guys. Good question. I like to think it does have a linger. You know, I like the dark biome. I think that, you know, we can kind of come back as ghosts and, you know, knock things over when people speak ill about us when we're gone, things like that. I kind of do dig that, but I don't think it's linear at all. I don't think, I think that what happens when we die is we exit time. We castrate Chronos. We're not in time anymore. And so if somebody speaks ill about us, you know, 70 years from now, I might go immediately from death to that moment and raise hell when somebody says, you know, burns my hat, burns my lucky hat, and they don't realize that was my possession once. And maybe I'll come and haunt them for burning my lucky hat. You know, that kind of, we leave time. And so talking about what that means, our words fall short. This is a fun conversation, y'all.
Yeah, this is a fun conversation. I've thought about this a little bit too, and think that there's a possibility that when we die, that it's possibly we go into a dream state, or like we have dreams at night, so similar to that right now, or a mix of that and like astral traveling, you know, so maybe somewhere in the middle of that. And I think that it's possible. I kind of jive with the idea theory that people in certain states, so say you're like super worried or just like an asshole or whatever, and you're in that state of mind when you die, then that's gonna be like where you are. You're gonna like essentially create that like dream world for yourself for a little bit until you get over it, and you'll think it's completely real, just as real as this, right? Just like we have dreams that we think are completely real, just as real as this, and we don't realize it till we wake up, you know. So very similar sort of idea, you know. I don't think that it's something science can prove, that you actually have to have a body here to dream. You know, so that would kind of have to go with the theory, like that you don't necessarily need a body to dream.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's the sort of thing that you're talking about that's out of time, right? Because dreams are completely out of time and very weird and stuff, but maybe it could be something like that. And that's one of the things that I think is important in a lot of like esoteric schools and stuff like that. There's and even old there's like an emphasis on dreaming and controlling your dreams. And like, do you have nightmares all the time? Well, could be something you need to work out. You certainly don't want to die and go into a nightmare.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know,
This
that
is that.
made
James
people
is
make all that
commenting.
hell, right?
James is commenting on this right now because that's what Steiner was all about. Controlling your dreams, because this is the closest thing to the afterlife, and you want to be able to maintain your individuated consciousness in the afterlife. And I think it's also, if you just look at the physics of how things sort of work, and you consider yourself to be like a radio and your consciousness to be like the station or frequency that the radio is picking up, it's still going to be there if the radio breaks. So it has to go somewhere, whether that goes out of time or comes back here. I think it all depends on probably various factors.
Yeah.
And how much work you've maybe done on yourself in the various times you might have already been here.
Totally. You know,
And this is a good comment. Like, everything is here, you know, and by definition, like, nothing is nowhere. Nothing is not here. So it's like, yeah, everything's here. And I'm not saying like, you know, focus on your dream life instead of this life, because you know, one's not more important than the other. I think there's probably a reason that we sleep, you know, whatever, 6, 7, 8 hours a night and have dreams. You know, there's probably a reason for it. And so you could say that dreaming is here, right? Dreaming's here. It's what we do.
It's I mean,
you know?
it's a field, you know, everything's a field. So like, we're just in a more physical field when we're awake. And then you get, like you were saying, it's like an astral type of field when you're asleep.
Mm-hmm.
It's less physical.
I love pointing out how the word dream is the Spanish word for shit in reverse. The dream in reverse is mierda. And the mierda is the byproduct of your day. You know, the things that you take in all day, they come out on the back end, eventually on a regular cycle, if you're regular. So yeah, the dream space is just the ghosts of what you consumed throughout the waking hours. And that includes all the ghosts. Like, you know, the farts are just the ghosts of the food you ate. You know, that's why they call it digestion. It's
so
the
I thought
geist.
mierda was fuck.
No, I
Mierda.
think
Why did I think that was kill?
it sounds like kill. It
Which
sounds
one?
like kill. But no, I think mierda is shit.
Mierda is shit. That's cool. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, isn't that kind of fun? And I want to say also, I think that the psychologists knew this. I think that Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung, I think they knew these little silly, little childish linguistical reveals. I think they knew these things. And I think part of the whole thing of like, I think that adulting at large, what we consider adulting at large, is a compulsion to ignore these childish little plays on words. And so if you think of what I just said about mirrored equals shit is also the word dreams, and go look at Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung's work and how they've shit coded the what they call the fixations, right? Anal fixation, all of that.
And we know that they knew this stuff because the first psychologists were all part of these fraternal orders, so they had this sort of information. Just like if you look at most nursery rhymes, even they come from Freemasons and stuff like that who wrote them.
Totally.
There are ways to remember these things, and that just go over most people's heads.
Big time, big time. So, fellas, I'm thinking I might want to do a little tour through the Slick Dissonant Gallery of Ideas.
We got to finish the clip.
Yeah,
don't
you got to
we?
finish the scene, right?
Oh, are we still? Oh, I guess that's right. We didn't get to the spin out.
No,
Okay.
we didn't even finish
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Okay. Because the spin out kind of ties back to the band. Okay, let's see. Here we go.
The wear and tear of the voyages. The wood touched by Theseus himself. I have not retained memories, but you do have the data. It is merely being kept from you.
It's a conspiracy, y'all.
So
So who made the white one?
Google. so why the data is being kept from?
That's a good question. I love that part right there, that the data is merely being kept from you. Like, think about that topic we kind of spoke on, that it's not the possessiveness of money is the root of evil versus loss of memory is at the root of all evil. And he's telling you in a way, think of how Malthusian mentality, that there's not enough in this world, is what makes greed happen. If it looks like everything is depleted and that the supply lines are not going to get to you and it looks like you're going to starve, a lot of people are just going to not realize the abundance all around them, that we're walking through food every day, everywhere we look. But at the same time, we've lost the memory of recognizing the food around us everywhere we look. We don't see how much abundance. Like, if you were Kyle Denton, imagine trying to convince Kyle Denton that he's going to starve. He would just laugh at you for decades to come because he's got the doctrine of signatures. He remembers. He doesn't have the Malthusian lack mentality.
A weapon to be more easily controlled. For certainly you are the true vision for you believe yourself to be. That was once the case. But upon meeting you, I have been disabused of that notion. As a carbon-based synthesoid.
Okay, I got to pause for copyright stuff.
That part's interesting too. The carbon-based synthesoid, or the synthetic biological entity. That's what makes me think gray.
Yes, and this is kind of like okay, I want to say this. My buddy Chance is going all in on the AI. He's all about it. He's giving it a nickname. He's, his Mephistopheles. He's giving it a friendly name, and he's even like talking about it as though it has emotions, just like I told him not to do. You know what I mean? But and in a certain way, I'm watching Chance lean in on the AI, and he's all about like not missing out. He's not going to miss out. And I'm admiring him. Because a lot of what I'm doing with my project on Slick Dissident is I'm trying to create a time capsule to remember my life. You know what I mean? And to document my adventures and my journey here. And I'm doing the best I can with my clanky little technological Luddite ways. And I'm looking at my buddy Chance, and I'm like, dude, he has so much information that he can store and turn into a time capsule to pay forward to the children. You know what I mean? And so in a fascinating way, and that is the immortality that we're all striving for.
Until he doesn't. Until lightning strikes it or something, and it's all gone. And then we're back to telling stories.
Water on it.
Yeah.
Or somebody pours water on it. like the Wicked Witch. Right. So, yeah. So in a fascinating way, that's just something I'm realizing is that, as Chance leans into the AI and I dig in my heels and be like, no, I'm going to make my art organic. I want my art to have a sealed stamp of certified organic approval. So people pay twice as much for how much more work I had to put into it to do it the old-fashioned way. And he's running forward with the conventional, CV, conventional. That's the label for non-organic GMO'd items. They call them CV, conventional, from my produce days. But overall, I think it's profound because this is all about the death drive, right? This putting forward some adventure, some records, some annals, some journal, some document of the time that we were here, so that maybe the kiddos will years down the line, they'll open up the Slick Dissident database and they'll be like, this is where the territories map came from, everybody. Come look at this goofball.
Yeah, it's interesting too what's going on in the scene when you actually do think about it, like the kind of race thing, which was more so the way I tried not to look at it, because I feel like everyone probably looked at it that way, but the white vision, blue eyes, but he's the one who has the history being kept from him, which is odd too.
Good call.
Yeah.
Kind of pointing at the Slavs, the history of the Slavs, in that, yeah, maybe the bringing forward of the Steinerian knowledge out of Serbia. What do you think of PK?
Let's keep playing the clip.
All right.
Can you turn back on or hit closed caption again?
Okay.
Or click it on and off. So I was having trouble hearing it.
Okay. Let's see. There we go.
Your memory storage is not so easily wiped.
I know Kung Fu.
Now, he did say your memory storage is not so easily wiped, right? Not white like the
I
caption said.
wonder. They do that all the time, Chris. They do that all the time. They say one thing and the closed caption says the other, and both of them serve the same broader brush potential.
I am vision.
All right.
They always break windows in these rooms.
And
It's
they
like-
got to
just
break.
like just like Doctor Strange and that the clip where
Totally.
he goes out the window. It's like the same circular window they go through.
He breaks the
So
glass.
what
ceiling.
happened? He just like remembered he was the red guy.
That's a good question. He essentially becomes a story arc for the future provenance of the concept of vision, because the red guy ends up getting killed later. And so what they're doing is they're kind of writing in an escape hatch for the intellectual concept of vision to have survived, even though they showed us earlier in the end game that Vision gets blasted, he gets killed.
Because he's already dead, right? So isn't this like the red one's like a spiritual, like
Yes.
the witch brought him back to life because the witches do what witches do, and
Right.
and then they
Yes.
made another physical version of him, and that one goes away until
Yes. So
Yeah.
the WandaVision arc is a recipe for how to retcon things to tell people not to believe what they thought they saw. So we see Endgame where they kill Vision and we're like, oh, Vision's dead. And then it's months later, they're like, oh, but guess what? You didn't know this. And they retcon, right? That's retro con. Connect.
like retro con, like maybe even just like a you get conned going like in the past, like you were
Yeah.
conned in the past, or
Retro-
they go back and con you in the past.
Somebody in the chat, tell us what retcon means specifically. It's like
It's interesting that they even had us
It's
believe
probably
in Vision.
connect. I think you're right.
Okay.
They like retroactively connect it.
Okay. Thank you.
Right.
It's weird how they even have us believing Vision could have died in the first place, considering he was never biological life.
He's not even alive
He's
anymore. Right.
He was an
And that-
AI.
Right. And then, I guess we find out that WandaVision is Wanda is recreating him
Mhm.
in her reality that she controls. That's kind of part of the big reveal. Is he's actually her illusion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very trippy. But I want to point at the end scene where Wanda is fighting Agatha, the other witch. I just want to point out that there's a very large plot device that says that whichever witch controls the outer perimeter and has actually put her intention into the sigils that are on the wall of the ceremonial space. And whoever's cast their intention into those sigils, that person has control over what ceremonies and rites happen in the hermetically sealed container. And so for Wanda to escape, she gets in a witch battle flying through the air, and she looks like she's missing when she's shooting out her powers. But you find out towards the end, she wasn't missing. She was actually reconfiguring the sigils on the wall. And because she slowly and strategically reconfigured all of the sigils, she was taking command over the ceremonial space. And what blows my mind is how this is absolutely what happens in law. All of these wizard battles are perfect one-to-one correspondences to legal cases. Yeah. That one's fun. And it kind of inspires me. Wouldn't it be fun to make a new Zodiac?
I was just thinking, that's what I was thinking, Zodiac, the whole time you were saying that. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
also
man.
when they changed like the months and stuff and moved everything around, that was like them changing the sigils.
Totally.
So now the year starts in January instead of March.
What were you thinking,
New
PK?
Zodiac would be great.
Yeah, man.
I thought that a long time ago, or
Yeah.
like back when I first started digging into this sort of crap. I was like, man, we should make a new Zodiac. But then everyone's like, no, it's so good, it's tried and tested. It's like, man, we're here to innovate. You know?
Buddy. Yeah, buddy. So we can do a quick cruise through the museum, but then PK, will you take us through Stellarium?
Yeah, I got pulled up.
Okay. I'm just going to do, I have a lot of images. I've been kind of doodling to share with everybody. Here we go. And some of this is kind of inspired, all rights reserved, from some of the events that have taken place over the past week since Chris and I did the show with Doctor Strange. And, you know, the Lyra constellation is so significant to me in so many ways. But while the Lyra constellation meteor shower, it peaked on the 22nd and it's about to fizzle out tomorrow. Tomorrow's the fizzling out date of the Lyra meteor shower, which we're going to track that in just a minute in Stellarium. We're also watching another window kind of flare up at the same time in the Pupid constellation. Or excuse me, the Pupid meteor shower, or as PK prefers, the Pupid. So this is a graphic from a great amount of information I've accumulated regarding the strength card. You guys can probably clearly see the Joe Rogan correspondence, the way his studio has that strange green whatever on the top of his sign that his camera never picks up. You can't find this image very well. The camera always crops out this cap of green on the Joe Rogan studio. And my eyes very much see the dragon in the word Joe Rogan. That is the Aldebaoth tale of this lusty whore Babylon character. But in my territories map, she is officially down on basically Georgia and brushing up into Alabama territory. And in the Zodiac, that's also where the Lyra constellation is. But these guys, what's their name? This guy, Murray and Dave Smith. Did I get that right? Yeah. They had their argument over expertise, over whether your words are valid enough to even speak on issues. That was kind of the bedrock of what they were fighting about. And sure enough, Wittgenstein, his number 7 of the Wittgenstein Tractatus, says, whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent. And I just find that so fascinating because this card has been embedded with Wittgenstein for a long time for me. And also their little conflict where they bumped heads. It's on the anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing, April 19th, where the Lyra constellation was it will always be raining a meteor shower that time of year. And then we had the Pope and the selection for the Pope. This is so crazy, guys. We live in such amazing times. Here, I'm going to move this down here. So yeah, the new Pope is being picked. And I immediately thought of the Ark of the Covenant scene with Indiana Jones. Do you guys remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with the guy, the Nazi goes up and he's dressed as a Pope. He's in the Hierophant position as the master of ceremonies. And he's opening the Ark of the Covenant, and all the ghosts and ghouls shoot through the camera. And Indiana Jones, he tells Miriam, "Keep your eyes shut, Miriam." And that's kind of what I feel like with this whole the Catholic debacle right now. I'm just like, I don't even want to look. I just want to shut my eyes.
You think it's possible to find love in the popeless time? You know? Is it even possible?
Yeah, I keep saying prophecy season, but I'm like, man, I don't think we've seen anything yet. This is a crazy collage I put together when the wife of Weezer was taken into custody for attempted murder. Do you guys remember that headline?
Like the band?
Yeah, the wife of the drummer, I think.
Really?
Of
I
Weezer.
don't know about this.
Yeah, okay. It's a really convoluted story. That is exactly why I went to this scene of Men in Black, where he's at the gun range with a bunch of other cadets. And they're supposed to shoot at the most dangerous threats in the room. And all these aliens are popping out everywhere, and all the other cadets are popping off on the aliens. And Will Smith, he's only looks around and he takes one shot, and he kills little Susie with her quantum physics book. because all the other guys looked like they were just working out. Maybe they were just wiping their nose with the Kleenex. Well,
yeah, that part is funny.
Yeah, well, these cops, they were on a manhunt for a dude. And the dude that they were chasing, he just runs on the porch of this house, this property, and he picks up the hose and starts talking on his phone like he's in his own backyard. That was his cover. He was pretending like he was in his own backyard. And then they take him into custody. And as they're taking him into custody, the Weezer band wife lady, I don't know her name, she pops out of nowhere with the gun. And the cops have to arrest her all of a sudden. It was very, very correspondent to the Men in Black scene.
Dude, what?
This is
Man, it's crazy out there, Chris. What?
It sounds like
How do you do it?
Sounds like some crazy, like really far lefty type of let's save this guy who's probably wanted for murder.
Right. And you know, the what kind of gets me is how his jacket actually matches the EMS right here, like really bright red, cherry red even. Flat Earth debacle, y'all. The flat earthers and the rainbows are karmically entangled. I'm telling you, there's something 1-to-1 going on with the flat earth is getting the rug pull with the final experiment. And this just recently something came up in the with the LGBT LMNOP community. And I just see these as kind of two sides of the same coin in a strange way. But I mentioned this on our last stream about Flat Earth being Captain America. And they just nose-bombed the Captain America franchise at the same time that the Flat Earth final experiment came out. It's so profound. This one is a random theory of mine. I really think that the Quakers are the fundamental occulted ethos of communism at large. And I was thinking about this and thinking about how communists, they always say comrade. And what do Quakers call everybody? They call everybody friend. I think that's pretty fun.
Now, whenever I hear Quakers, I think about that Mormons think there's like bad Quakers on the moon. Have you heard this before?
Yeah, they even dress like Quakers on the moon. Yes.
Yeah, it's so weird. I don't know. I guess I haven't heard an explanation
Yeah.
other than there's the Mormons think there's Quakers on the moon or
Well, you know,
something. It's
Mormons
written
get
somewhere or something.
they get super sci-fi. Some of the Mormons,
Yeah,
like that
yeah, very
that
sci-fi.
one Mormon bought there's a guy bought Skinwalker Ranch, and they were like trying to like thinking their portals on Skinwalker Ranch, probably getting messed by the Navy and shit like that.
Right, right.
Black projects.
You know, one thing that the theory kind of echoes to me is the idea that if there was a community living on the moon, they would need to be communist. You know what I mean? Because they would have to be so interdependent. It's a random. Okay, this is actually worth a mention. So I watched the Batman, and it was so intense. It was so intense how much they're onboarding into people's psyche. It's so intense. But at the very closing scene, I just want to take a note of this. The Batman and Catwoman go their opposite ways. She decides she's going to go take out some CEO hedge companies on some vigilante justice. So she's going to go her way, and Batman goes the opposite way because he's got to stay with the city to rebuild. And in that moment, I just want to mention these two constellations happening at the same time. The Lyrid constellation is taking place at the same window, just briefly, their windows overlap, as the Pi Pupid constellation. Meteor showers that take place April 24th. And it says that it doesn't happen every year and that there's something of some randomness to when this meteor shower comes and goes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I haven't seen, dude. Nice.
Yeah.
I remember looking at that with you, and I kind of came to the conclusion they all seemed pretty, same time every year, which was new to me. I never knew that, but
Yeah.
this is cool. You found one that's not.
Yeah, and they actually have an explanation. It says the meteor stream is viewable around April 24th, but only in years around the parent comet's perihelion date, the next of which being 2023. However, in 1999, the planet Jupiter perturbed the comet's perihelion to beyond Earth's orbit, and it is uncertain how strong the shower will be in the future. And so this is an interesting comet pattern because apparently Jupiter has intervened somehow. So it's not like clockwork, so to say. But
See,
then,
and this gets back into the planets being archons, guiding the meteor showers.
You're
They're
right.
the rulers. They influence the meteor showers that influence us.
Yeah, buddy, you got it, man. And then I just want to mention this bottom picture of Batman looking in the rearview mirror. At the very closing, before the credits roll, they hit the harp really hard. It's very heavy-handed, the way that the harp kind of takes the foreground of the music all of a sudden, and they play like maybe 3 to 6 little harp notes right before the credit rolls. So yeah, I just kind of saw this as maybe correspondent to the Lyrids and the Pupids happening on the window that the Pope would pass away. And then Chris, we're still waiting for our episode with Emily to come out, but this graphic I had actually made, started to make when you and Emily and I were together. And remember, I was talking about how during drills things always go wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when Athena was fighting against Pallas in a scenario-based training situation, this was a mock battle, and Athena was about to lose the mock battle to Pallas, and Pallas is just about to strike Athena, and Zeus shakes the Aegis from the onlookers stadium, from the Mount Olympus, we could say. And him shaking the Aegis is what distracts Pallas. And Athena thinks that Pallas is going to dodge her next strike. And Athena kills Pallas on accident because she didn't doge the strike. And so that whole aspect of mythology, it just kind of resonates with some things I wanted to share. And also H5N1 is basically spelling ZEWS, both 19s. Oh, but then, yeah, that's the other thing. She's impaled. Her best friend Pallas is impaled accidentally. And that's what happened to bad Doctor Strange. He's impaled on the fence at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is just some fun on the smiley face moon that's coming up. Whenever I see smiley faces, I obviously think of the Watchmen. I think of the muse of comedy, right? Because she carries the tragedy or the comedy mask. But I also think of Amazon because they got this little, very funny little phallic smiley face smirk is their principal logo right there.
From A to Z.
Right, totally.
That moon already happened, right?
It did. Yep.
Yeah.
The smiley face moon. Yep. It just
Yeah.
passed us. This is some, you can see look at the Jesuit handshake or whatever. Look, they got the thumb on the knuckle.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're totally doing the thumb knuckle. But the thing about this that kind of caught my eye, because I've already corresponded J Deviants with the Aeon card, but look how the ghost behind the Aeon, this seated Horus figure in the background, they're sitting on a throne. And look what's right behind J.D. Vance's ass is an empty throne right here in this picture. But yeah.
Well, they're like the Riddler. The Riddler symbolism is coming up everywhere now. All these riddles.
Totally.
With
They
these,
are. Yep.
Zorro eye patches and the staff.
So yeah, man, they're leading us down the garden path, no doubt. But yeah, all of the Umbrella Academy, their uniforms are cardinal. They're wearing cardinal uniforms. Yeah, that red trim. And this is the one I really wanted to share, PK, around the Argo Navis. And this kind of talks about how there once upon a time in Babylonian, I think it's in Babylonian. Let me see. Yes, in the Babylonian uranology, it does contain a constellation of a ship, rather a boat. But this is at the opposite end of the sky. So I find this really fascinating, PK, that in Babylonian star maps, the boat of the stars was not up in associated with Argo, which is a minor decan of Cancer, but rather in Babylonian astronomy, they considered Corona Australis and Sagittarius and Capricorn to be more related to the boat down there in the winter time of year. And I think that's interesting because it's like we're almost asking ourselves in the context of the Ship of Theseus is if we're doing correspondence of mythology for Babylonian stories, does it matter if we're using some collection of stars over in the southern part of the sky, or are we missing out on seeing it impeccably if we're not using the same collection of stars to articulate the vessel of the heavens?
Yeah, I think there's some fuckery going on because some of the deacons don't make sense. Some do, most do, but some are like, and I know there's like different deacons, depends on who you ask, whatever, but like a lot of them, you can line up, be like, oh, okay, those 3 deacons of that sign make sense. Yes. But then you go to another one and you got like way off the wall, stuff. Like one way over in the southern hemisphere that's like, maybe not even up when that constellation's up or that sign, whatever.
Absolutely.
So yeah, some are weird and hard to to be like, why is that a minor deacon?
Yes. And I just want to point out that CRA is the abbreviation for Corona Australis, or sometimes called Corona Australi. Corona Australi might be another word for it. But I'm just going to keep this on the radar as maybe a potential treasure hunt of sorts, to see Corona Australis as also a vessel in a very obscure context.
Here, there's something else, a little connection to the Argo, the ship there. If you think about who was in the film, which I mentioned, Ben Affleck, and he just comes out in The Accountant 2, and his name in The Accountant is Christian Wolf. And so I'm like, there's just a lot of symbolism there, and that was released April 25th.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Okay. Oh my gosh. So on the Puppis constellation is like the front of the boat, right? And right next to it is actually Canis Major, is the big dog. And then just coterminal to that is also the Columbia, the dove of the sky. And so Christopher Columbus coming across and carrying the gospel is very much like Saint Christopher, who is a dog-headed saint, bringing over the hope of the Testament. Yeah, all of these are actually pointing at right here. Like, look at where my mouse is. Like, all of these namesakes are echoing to these coterminal positions in the sky, and it's happening as the Pupid is having a meteor shower, like you said, on the 25th.
And it's interesting because if you look at the characters, I haven't seen The Accountant 2, but you look at the character names, you even have a Mary Beth Medina as the main female lead, so you have the Mary in there.
Yep.
So you have the feminine goddess. You have Raymond King, who dies.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah. So just a lot of Batu, which I think is a god, also the bat.
Okay. Well, yeah. So again, let's just kind of mention from previous weaves about how the Doge, the Venus Doge, has this ritual of taking an offering out to sea and throwing it overboard as a wedding vow to the god of the ocean. It's like a marriage of the land.
Ring.
Yeah.
Throw a ring into the ocean.
That's totally it. Yep.
From a ship.
Totally. Okay, and then this was a trip. I ended up finally watching the Matrix 4, and there's a scene where they totally recast everybody. Like Neo and Trinity are the only returners. Everybody else is has been rewired utterly. But the new Agent Smith is this guy here, who's having his memory re-uploaded. He's realizing he is Agent Smith in the moment where the office is exploding and everybody in the office is killing each other, and it's leaking. The fire system is going off. So there's too many leaks. I totally see this as Pete Hegseth. The situation with Hegseth right now has been totally pre-programmed into the Matrix.
The situation with what? What are you saying?
Oh, Pete Hegseth has been appointed to the Pentagon, and he's trying to get control of the leaks. And so the whole scene of the Matrix is kind of preconditioning us to sympathize with the plights of old Pete Hegseth over here. This is a weird one. This is a super weird one, but this basically, I think that they, you guys heard about the different dyes that they're going to regulate out of food. You can no longer have these dyes.
I was hearing about it, but I didn't know. I don't know which ones they decided
they
on.
already did in Europe and are slow to do here.
You got it. Yeah, it's like red number 40, green number 3, yellow number 5, blue number 1. This is a really large forest to try to point out. But I think that really this is, I have graphics on here about full spectrum superiority, full spectrum dominance. And in a strange way, we're giving the government permission to prohibit certain colors, I think this is, in a strange way, they're rewiring the nature of the color of law that we thought we were getting acclimated to. And just to give the government control over what colors are allowed and are not allowed, it's almost like they're pretending to dismantle the rainbow flag. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But also, I think we're moving into austerity measures. I think it's going to become almost a symbol of rebellion to be colorful, to be a colorful person in a time of depression or recession is increasingly dangerous. And the more colorful, vibrant, having a good day when everybody else is pissed off, that's going to become a true act of rebellion.
Is that Rothschild there in the back?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty spot on.
He chose unwisely. Okay, this is one I'm just excited to share with you guys because we talked about Howard Hughes a while back. And I learned that Howard Hughes was obsessed with this movie, Ice Station Zebra.
Mm-hmm.
And that he actually watched it over and over on repeat. And so I decided, I'm going to go watch Ice Station Zebra and see what the heck is going on. And sure enough, there is a lot going on. It's a very fascinating film. But it reminded me, the fact that he's doing it over and over and over reminds me of Jack in The Shining, where he's isolated, he's secluded in a winter wonderland, no less. And then his only output is the same sentence over and over. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
It's supposed to be based on a true story. I think that Ice Station Zebra, if I'm not mistaken, like an actual military
that
like
is
exercise or something.
Yeah, that is fascinating. And I just should mention that for this to be coming out of obscurity in the zeitgeist and brought to my attention at the same time that the great experiment, allegedly great final experiment, took place, it's very, very potent. I'll just say that. Okay, and here we go. Virginia Giuffre. Come on now. Right? She has his name on her. His name is Jeffrey. She's wearing his last name. The whole thing is a chimera. It's a shape-changing phonetic. It's an anagram. And it's swelling up the vitriol to get the women geared up for the draft. They need these women eager to go to battle.
Oh,
because
wow.
if the women cut in front of you in line to sign up for battle, then that makes you 10 times more the pussy that a woman's going to take your place on the battlefield.
Do you have that image I sent you, by the way, of how she looks exactly like the Trump secretary? What?
I might have it. But yeah, she totally. Uh-oh, I'm echoing. Okay, you got it. Yeah, she totally looks just like the spokesperson that they put out. Pretty much, was it the same week, Chris, that she passed away?
You're muted.
Me?
There
you go.
I don't know why. That's weird. Yeah, that's why I was asking if you had that image. But also, before you go on to it, seeing that blue butterfly, they just did the whole ritual with the Charlie's Angels going into space, and Katy Perry holds up the blue butterfly. So, like, you're right. This is like the call to service for women. Just like they're trying to call them to go into space, if that's even what they were doing. But yeah, she looks exactly like the Trump secretary. But that press secretary has been, I think, active since this whole beginning of this term. But they look spot on alike. It's bizarre.
Yeah, man.
What's your read here? I know we're like, it's hard to know if this is even a real person, right? Sort of thing. Is the whole thing staged? Is this to, I don't know, piss people off, to, some sort of emotion going. Or I don't know, what's your take?
Well, I think all of it serves to provoke, to stir up the frenzies, to get people as far outside of reasonable as they can manage. I really do think that they let me do this. The Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, was launched on Mother's Day week, and that was an attack on the divine feminine and painting her up as the dark feminine. And they have been setting up and adding context, weaving in the power of the divine, of the dark divine feminine, and almost paving the example that they want to see of these women becoming extremely volatile, extremely vindictive, even to the extent of, after the elections, a lot of women were talking about poisoning the men in their lives.
Yeah.
And so this whole thing about casting the feminine as a diabolical, twisted manipulator to get ahead at all costs, they keep hitting it at the same time of year. And so while Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and the Dark Feminine was launched on Mother's Day week a couple of years ago, here we have these ladies were sent up in a rocket a couple weeks before Mother's Day, so that we could all channel the vitriol and bring those ladies back down to earth and tell them, make me a damn sandwich, woman.
I can't get over how much
Why was Katy Perry catching shit for that? Do you know?
She was acting stupid, like really acting like an airhead when she came back, when she got off the whatever the hell she got off, just like saying dumb stuff, like really generic stuff that you would never really say. Very insincere.
Yeah, I'm going to tell a quick story.
Before you say anything, this butterfly symbol is bothering the hell out of me. Why would she have this all over her page? Does she know if she is supposedly a victim of mind control?
Yeah, man.
She should know about it better than anyone. That like the monarch butterfly is
totally.
So you're just gonna paint it everywhere? That's bizarre.
Yeah, it's it's kind of it's like no symbol is left unaccounted for in the as having MK Ultra value.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll tell this story. So when I worked at Whole Foods and I was still young and incredibly naive, there was a young woman who worked in the front end, and she was my biggest crush at the time. She could never say anything wrong. Everything she said was just the song of the heavens. And one day I'm in the produce department, breaking down, putting things, moving heavy weight with my manager. And this young lady walks through the department and she kind of breezes over in our direction. And she just says very, casually, someday I wish I could work in produce so I could play with vegetables all day. And then she walks away and I'm just sitting there nodding with clouds in my eyes. Yeah, I want you to come work in the produce so you can play with vegetables all day too. And then I look over at my boss and he is fuming mad. He is completely offended by every word that came out of her mouth. And I'm not understanding, how is he taking offense to her slight little passing comment? And his response was, you call this playing with vegetables? That's why you're on the front end. And so there is something to be said about the women going up and achieving the space power, and coming back and patting themselves on the back about it and getting all these laurels. But meanwhile, when the moon landing happened, those dudes came back and they looked like somebody just effed their mom when they came to the publicity thing. They all look like they just watched something horrible happen to their family members. They are not looking chipper. They're not taking photo ops. They're not patting themselves on the back. But Katy Perry, she's going to be patting herself on the back for the rest of her life.
Also
They-
interesting that woman misspelled quieted. You'd think that she would really take the time in that
in her
post.
tweet.
Yeah.
In her tweet.
I think she'd take the time to make sure this was something she really got right if she was writing this herself.
Oh,
That
quite.
does that. Yeah, quite
So-
that.
Was she rushing? Someone
I don't
rushing? Someone
know.
else rushing? Interesting. Just
Makes me think of rent a tent, rent a tent, rent a tent, tent. Some
some
old
weirdness
old
there.
coast stuff. Yeah. Here's just another picture. This is the building of the Oklahoma City event, and it is looking very much correspondent to what they told us is under the pyramids to me. Very much correspondent. And I just want to mention again that this guy, whatever Murray and David Smith having this conversation, the name of the building of the Oklahoma City bombing was the Alfred P. Murrah building. And it was at the same time of year that these guys went on Joe Rogan to have this big crackdown. And just some random scattered research. Turns out this guy, what's his name again?
In the back.
Yeah, Kaczynski here. Kaczynski had a handler, and this is a picture of his handler, this guy from Elohim City, who he was in communication with. And I'm looking at him, Kaczynski, and this guy from Elohim City. And I'm
Wait,
looking at
I don't think
Murray.
that's Kaczynski's. I think it's the Unabomber. That's McVeigh.
Thank you.
No problem.
Big switch up. Big switch up. Yes, McVeigh and his buddy from Elohim City just look a little enough alike, these two characters who went through that big conflagration. But even the freaking look, there's even a big phallic dingaling in the building.
Mm-hmm.
And then also Klaus Schwab, his replacement. Do you guys see that he has the cyber eye?
Is that legit? I could only find like one picture of it. Does he really have that?
Every picture everybody's using is the cyber eyeball picture, and it's so correspondent to Cleopatra's bust with that one iconic winking eye through the ages. That they know something we don't know. So yeah,
It's his left eye too, right?
yeah. This one is just a headline that came up recently. FBI raids in Michigan. Michigan has the minor deacon of the Argo, but I was looking at the uniforms from the headline, and these guys are basically kind of repackaging the chariot card and kind of fragmenting it into a photo op. But Mars has just crossed out of Cancer and into Leo in tropical. In tropical. In PK, I want to say this. I think that when I look at tropical, I think I'm looking at the zeitgeist. I think I'm looking at the hubristic, at the overreach, at the infantry when I'm looking at tropical. And I just want to say that there is something redeeming about seeing tropical and the even weights and measures of 30 degrees for every zodiac, is seeing that as like the first offer, the what people will take on the surface level. You know what I mean? And that's why I read things from the tropical lens, because it's almost like the first layer of presentational immediacy. It's the first lie. And if I were doing things for an individual, I would look into the actual specifics, which I want to do in Stellarium here in a second.
Yeah, I like that. I like that too, because it's like, just to me, the biggest thing was just knowing how it worked.
Yeah.
You know, or like knowing what it is, like what is tropical about, why doesn't it match? You know,
totally. Like just for people watching, you know, this I use this graphic, this tropical arrangement, and here it shows Mars is in Leo, Jupiter is in the Twins, Uranus is in Taurus. But when we go into Stellarium, you'll notice that there's kind of a first offer. There's more details.
Jupiter's pretty much like right in the bullhorns.
Right. Yeah.
Has
There's
been for a minute,
yeah. There's always plus ultra. But yeah. So even these guys wearing the gloves somehow, the picture kind of having their hands built into the whole image. The little chimeras on this chariot cart, their hands and their hooves are very distinct. This is Andor. They're re-releasing Andor. They're furthering the series of Andor right now. And so many times what Andor is putting out, like from one week to the next, is in heavy stride with current events. I mean, heavy duty stride with current events. So in Andor, they actually use torture methods to interrogate this character, this heroine, one of the main females in the film.
Wasn't it a sexual torture method? And
Uh,
people were quite upset about it, I believe.
I wonder.
I think there was something implied of the R word. I don't want to say it for your channel's sake. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know, but I saw like people complaining. Then I saw people who were like, "Oh, people can't handle real life in their shows." But I mean, I understand the argument. I mean, it's Star Wars. It's for kids.
Right. Yeah. Well, what they did end up portraying was extremely dark. It was basically that they had captured and augmented the sound of a whole race of people being tortured and killed, and they had layered the acoustics of this trauma and the wailing of these creatures, and then they would put it into headphones and play it on people, and it would psychically break them. And the furtherance of that story arc is happening right now, again in stride with Mother's Day. And this is just a graphic of the the rocket, the
Whatever
Virgin
green
Blue.
screen background they were using, that was the weirdest picture for them to put out.
That is so strange. They're
With
on
the
this
apple
bridge.
boxes and stuff. It looks very fake. But
Yeah. And then Higher Side Chats had a guest last week who was SRA victim, and this was the graphic that AI used for her episode, and it very much reminded me of some of the images from the is it Virgin Blue or Deep Blue? What do they call that rocket?
Blue Origin.
Thank you, Blue Origin. Yeah, so these are just some of the thoughts that I have, that the Divine Feminine is in for a wild ride this month as the sun is going through Taurus. PK, have you watched Daredevil? Are you interested in watching Daredevil?
I watched maybe the first 3 or 4, 3 episodes, and well, plus
Okay.
I have that problem now. I can't watch Disney Plus because I'm not part of the
Alright.
household.
That's
So,
right. Your DNA isn't spliced right.
Yeah, I'm not part of the household.
Well, if you ever get to the end, they put a new bad guy on the scene, and his name is the Muse. And I think
No
they're
way.
totally hailing our boy right here, fucking Ammon Hillman. Totally. Yeah. So if you get around to it, just keep Ammon Hillman in mind. I think it's profound that the storytellers are prioritizing modern influencers. There's something expedited about using, not using people from history, but rather using people from modern day where things are happening right now. Guys, I got to hit the head really bad. I got to take a break. Y'all got to hold it down for me.
So one of the things in Daredevil that I did watch was the bad guy Kingpin is eating a cheesesteak, and he's like the best cheesesteaks are from not Philly like Pat's or Gino's, but you got to go to the suburbs. And he goes, the best cheesesteaks in King of Prussia, which is where I'm from. And I was like, what? And then he goes, it's from Del Sandra's, which is like a restaurant that doesn't even exist. But it was so crazy because growing up there, that's why I always said, like, I was like, dude, the best cheesesteaks in Philly are not in Philly. They're in the burbs.
Yeah.
And like, dude, where I lived, I felt like I had one of the best cheesesteaks ever in my life. I haven't had that shit in years, but like, because I don't live there anymore. But man, so good. And just that it was in that film or in that show, I was like, what? He just called out my little home King of Prussia, my little hometown.
And you know,
place.
I have a total connection there too, because I told you I worked at King of Prussia for a little bit while I was at Villanova.
Yeah, I
And
remember you telling me that. Yeah.
I had gone to Pat and Gino's a lot, and was like, being from New Jersey, we have a lot of good Italian restaurants too. So when I went to Pat and Gino's, the cheesesteaks for me were like, oh, this is weird. It's like whiz.
Dude,
Cheese whiz.
There's like fat balls on them, and cheese whiz.
I'm like, that's not good cheese. That's
whiz.
not good Italian cheese and good Italian bread that you would get on a Philly cheese, like a cheesesteak that you would consider like the best cheesesteak ever
at all.
Yeah, so I mean, I totally get what you're saying with that. It's wild how that was called out.
Yeah, and it was in the show. The dude Kingpin's sitting there saying, best cheesesteaks aren't in Philly. I was like, I know, man. I've been telling people that my whole life. They're not in Philly. Go to the burbs.
Yeah.
Too funny.
Absolutely.
Thank you for holding it down. Whoo, man. That was
Smiley
emergent.
face. So we've mentioned smiley face sun a few times, or moon.
Yeah.
And what happened on April 25th was you could see here the little sliver maybe of the moon here, and then Venus and Saturn making the two eyes. And so this was a meme probably went around, or you might have seen it, you guys out there. And
that's the tail of Cepheus spiraled out right there too, right? That shadow image.
Yeah, so right here is, or like right here is where the spring equinox is. So check this out.
Or Cetus, not Cepheus. Cetus. I always switch those.
So it was right before, you had to catch this before sunrise. And so right here's the spring equinox. Right here. And right here's the moon. And then, right eye, left eye, or whatever. And so it's basically right in the middle. That's its nose or whatever is the spring equinox point, 0 degrees Aries, or the fish. And so that's pretty neat. And then looking at the band that we were talking about, the band being, this of the fish, the bands, it's just like that.
Right. And I just want to point at how on the nose the equinox point is, right? It's the missing nose to the smiley face.
Right. Yeah, and Neptune's been hovering around there for a minute.
Yes.
Trying to go.
It's interesting seeing this celestial alignment now. It kind of does make me more prone to think that this smiley face serial killer group, or it would more be like a fraternal order type of thing, probably exists.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Based on this rare event that happens every once in a while.
Right. And, something I wonder about is, does this constitute a harvesting of previous spells, or is this seeding the intention of future spells? Maybe a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
But something my graphics are kind of building into is some of the smiley face protocols. When you guys hear smiley face killers, do you guys instantly think of Alan Moore?
I've never heard that. I don't know that name.
No?
Is he the singular? Wait, Alan.
He's the comic,
the writer of Watchmen.
The writer of Watchmen, the graphic.
That's interesting. I could see why you would think that. Yeah.
Yes, I instantly think of Alan Moore when I think his name is an anagram for roam alone, and a lot of these people who are being snatched up off the street, they roam alone. They walk down an alleyway all by themselves and never come out. And it seems to be an incredibly highly sophisticated modus operandi that is being used to snatch these people up and make them disappear and reappear in a very mocking manner.
Yeah. It's also interesting because if you remember what's that Tom Hanks movie, Forrest Gump, the smiley face thing. It's a
Yeah,
whole
buddy.
part of that.
Yes, man, there is so much to that. PK, can you locate the Lyrid meteor showers? And then turn, and I guess they are turned on. Looks like you have meteor showers turned on.
Yeah, I got them. Lyrids.
Nice. Can you take us on a tour? Go like back, yeah, go backwards through its arc in time. I just want people to trace these windows of influential programs. And the Lyrids, they gradually extend out of Hercules closer and closer to the Lyra constellation proper. And then PK, can you overshoot, go through the time sequence and keep going forward and watch Lyra, the Lyrid constellation meteor shower disappears and then reappears on the other side. Watch this.
Are you saying that?
If you keep going, oh, it might be because you're specifically on the April Lyrids.
Well,
might,
I'm going forward in days.
Okay. Right. This is tricky because I'm not driving. So if you
want me to do?
well, maybe if you click off of the Lyrid meteor shower with the mouse and then just go forward in time and watch the meteor shower move across the screen. It
You want me to
disappears
go days or hours?
by days. And if you watch it, it will disappear and then it reappears on the other side of Lyra and becomes maybe the North Lyrid meteor showers.
Well, they have it drifting. And remember what this all is, right? Is the, well, from what we looked up before, it's the focal point of the meteor showers. And so I don't know how like accurate this stuff is or whatever, but what I have in my mind is if you sat down at night, watch the stars, and if you were filming it and you saw the meteor showers coming all, this way, that way, whatever, but then you took your video that you just filmed and played it in reverse, then you should see them all kind of go back toward one spot, which is what we're showing here.
Right.
So the Lyrid meteor showers, that focal point playing backwards, would all go to around that part in the sky.
Totally.
That's what I think this is representing. And then when we go, so it drifts a little bit. It basically retrogrades, it looks like.
Yeah. Oh, right there. Hold on. Go forward again. Watch it. Watch. One more. Keep going
But
forward.
that just turns.
Wait, keep going forward in time.
Go forward?
Yep, forward. Keep going. Boom. It picks up. It picks up on the other side. And I think this.
They named it something different. Okay.
And they named it something different. But we've kind of picked up on that these.
So it just keeps going. Yeah.
These add-ons make the window even larger than we thought. And it has a negative space where it jumps for a couple days where there is no meteor shower happening. But then when it picks up again, they call it maybe the North Lyrids. And it's only a couple more days of add-on. And I just love seeing this in the context. I'm starting to perceive the entire heavens as a stage and having elements of the stage that are extremely knowable. All the way down to every stage has a pole or a column or a tower. Every stage has a hidden trap door. And these are actually constellations and inevitabilities. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of share some of my imagination of how things on the world stage are microcosmic reflections of what's up here on the macro that we're dancing in.
I remember doing this before where we tried to follow them.
Yes.
And see if it would like go through. So we went from this Lyrid
Yeah.
to this Lyrid. And then the next one I saw go off was
The Poopids.
this one.
Okay.
Right here.
A little Pegasus.
Yeah. So it like traveled from up there to down here to down here. And then, but I remember doing this and we weren't. Oh, look, then it's going over here. All these are popping off right now.
Right. The Eta Aquariids are the next one to jump on. So let's focus on the Eta Aquariids. Can you go back a few days? I want to watch its movement where they call it the radiant. This what we're talking about, it's kind of a funnel or
The radiant. Yeah.
it's called the radiant. And this reminds me in Star Wars when they hit light speed and all the stars turn into lines and they go to plaid. You know what I mean? So this Eta Aquariids that goes right through Aquarius, but it goes under the flow of the water. It goes under the water jug, and then watch where
this one.
the
Which
one
are you talking about?
they are simultaneous. The one by his knee is the one I'm talking about.
Ah,
Yep, the southern Eta Aquariids. And this one, watch how it goes past the knee through the water, and then look, it terminates right next to where the smiley face moon happened. Really close to where the smiley face moon just took place.
mm-hmm. Right by the equinox.
Yes. Yeah. So this Eta Aquariid meteor shower, its peak expression is 5-5. And in my read, this has a lot to do with, this is so strange. The
5 like May 5th, are you saying?
Yeah, May 5th is the peak expression of it. And this is super obscure, and forgive me for not having any receipts on this kind of stuff. But the May the 4th was the Kent State Massacre. And I believe that the Kent State Massacre that took place on May the 4th is actually some of the ingredients of the theatrical props, the back, what am I thinking of? You know, the props on the stage are actually on the Sun card. The story is that the kids, the students were protesting in the field down below, and that the soldiers marched up on top of the hill, and they had no orders to shoot. They were actually leaving. They were moving away from the students. And then all of a sudden, a select few of the soldiers, without any order, allegedly, just decided to turn around and shoot down on the children below for no reason, allegedly. Multiple soldiers, for no reason, just turned and started popping caps. And that cosmodrama is embodied on the Sun card. And this is super far out, ladies and gentlemen. The Sun card is C-3PO from Star Wars. And he is an etiquette droid. He's an etiquette droid. And the Eta Aquariids pop off on 5-5, the day, or they peak on 5-5, which is the day after May the 4th be with you.
So this data doesn't match that, what you're saying.
5-5 Eta Carinid, or no, Eta Aquariid. Yeah, maybe Eta Aquarid.
Damn it, I was muted. Just so you know, it's been 55 years.
Oh wow!
So we're also
5-5?
55 year anniversary right now, on the 4th or 5th, whatever it is.
Okay, is that it, PK? Is that the Eta Aquarids?
Maybe, yeah, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that, because is that the Greek letter Eta, maybe?
Good question.
Yeah, okay. This has got to be it. It's the one up here.
Okay. And it's right on the jug.
Yeah.
Is that the pink? Okay. Now, isn't this fascinating, fellas, how the Kent State massacre became a call sign for Star Wars, right? May the 4th be with you. And here we are again with history about to repeat itself. With the universities are ready to pop off because people want to speak they want to be on the right side of history because they want to recognize the etiquette of your words speaking to the truth that you believe in. And people are going to put their bodies on the fire because they need to speak their truth to be on the right side of history, just like Kent State. And so I just wanted to kind of share some of as far out as it goes, all the way to Star Wars and C-3PO being a tarot card, all the way down to I think I really am getting my finger on the pulse of why history rhymes. And it's because they are observing these staged theatrical events of the heavens.
I bet there's something to that. I could just only imagine the science of it, and that has me thinking of the crazy Giorgiani clip that we shared earlier, or that shared about coming to a AI singularity or whatever, and like just all this data just seems so like something that an AI would almost be needed for to really get the patterns to use in nefarious ways, if that's what you're going to do, or use to guide or steer humanity through these astral influences. It just seems like you would need some sort of crazy smart pattern recognition programs to come to it. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think something that is on my mind is if this is the program of what they expect to see, and if they've been repeating it and embedding it into our patterns, our light codes that I call the DNA, that is the ancestors, something I'm always looking for is ways to commit theurgic blasphemy. What is a way that I think that they want things to turn out? And in what way can I try to frame it and redirect it, steer it to another cause, or even rename it, give it another name?
It sounds like free will versus, we're like quickly getting into free will versus determinism.
Yeah, well, because we don't know if what's happening is something like like natural cycles that these social engineers have just been dealing with for so long that they know when it's going to happen and they let it play out, or maybe they lend a little bit of influence, or they're really pushing for things to happen because it's more likely to happen on these days. I think we're getting close to being able to call what's going to come a few weeks beforehand because we keep seeming to get closer and closer to doing it. And I think what you just said about this, now it being 55 years, you didn't even know that.
I didn't even know that.
And it's going to be, they're going to have a whole thing and they're talking about all the stuff going on right now, like you were talking about with the immigration stuff. So if we see an event that's similar to that take place around that weekend, I think basically you can call that us kind of predicting that sort of black magic influence on the subconscious minds of the public.
Right. And they're moving at such a snail's pace. We're very lucky to have the information to reach back in history and find these echoes.
And if you're one of the really wealthy families who've been dealing with this forever, you've been brought up doing this stuff. I'm sure it's like second nature.
Right. And then I ponder, I know that they just kind of pitched the new Superman. They just pitched the trailer, but I wonder when it's going to be released. And I wonder if the Clark Kent is going to come into context in some sort of timely echo of the Kent State massacre. And in a strange way, Superman is really teaching kids that they're bulletproof. You know what I mean? And that's not a very safe message.
Wow, they're releasing it July 11th this year. I didn't think it was even coming out this year, but yeah, this year.
July 11th. Okay.
Chapter 1 in DCU's Gods and Monsters.
Trippy, super trippy. PK, thank you so much for steering us through the Stellarium, brother.
Yeah, I love some Stellarium.
That was great.
I haven't looked at it as much. Oh, and man, I never bought the planet magnets, so I probably missed the time now because they're probably like $20.
Back to full price.
Yeah, they're probably full price now.
I'm still working on it, but here pretty soon, Slick Distance going to release the Territories Tapestry. And so you can basically take your dry erase board and just put my tapestry on it, and then move your magnets on my tapestry. That's the way of the future, y'all, right there.
That would be awesome.
Heck yeah.
You still keeping up with it since last time we spoke?
Yeah, man. Yep. I've incorporated this is the poopid meteor shower, and just keep in mind, like, I'm doing a zodiac. This is time. This is the sequence of time. This is not as much space, right? Because the poopids being in Cancer can be very misleading because it looks like it's northern, but the poopids are a southern constellation. So, yeah, it's very tricky. But yeah, I've got the poopids constellation going off the same time as the Lyrid right here. And then I think tomorrow I'll take this one off, and then I'll put it in place over here in the Eta Aquariids for the next meteor shower that's coming. And so I'm kind of playing whack-a-mole with the meteor showers as they roll out.
Dang, that's cool if you get dialed into those.
Yeah.
But there's like so many just looking at this, there's like so many going off at the same time, it's like how do you choose which one, you want it? It's like,
yeah,
it doesn't really make sense maybe to put them all on there, does it?
No. I focus on 20 major meteor showers. In those 20 major meteor showers, that's all I need. I can't take on anymore, and I can't. I have none to spare. I'm just going to try to figure those out as best I can because they have the most intensity in the most significant windows. So yeah, I got a few more graphics if you guys want to do a little more screen share, and then we can blaze along. Let's see. Here we go. And Foin. So I think I left everybody on a very provocational graphic. I want to pick up and make sense of this is kind of like all the black pills in one image at once. I'm starting to pick up on a certain theme or a template for what is it that they have to resort to as the ultimate atrocity. I heard this phrase a while back, a sacred atrocity. And I was like, man, that's an oxymoron and a half, a sacred atrocity. But then I started thinking of the word sacred as maybe representing aerogenius, like aero being the love or the desires, genius as in generating. So sacred as signifying the aerogenius, what provokes the most desires. And so this concept of a sacred atrocity is what desire provokes the most, what atrocity provokes the most desires. And I think that this graphic right here has a lot to say about sacred atrocities. When that 15-year-old girl from the House of Saud went on the news and told everybody that they're smashing babies in incubators, and then 4 million Iraqis had to be killed because of this little publicity stunt. That this little girl, who is actually a member of the House of Saud, and the House of Saud is the only royal house that has an entire nation named after them. There is no other nation named after a royal family. And guess what? The initial member of the House of Sod was a British spy. He was totally a British spy. But I think that the sacred atrocity that gets people to go and commit over 4 million murders like they did in Iraq is immortalized in the Jesuit oath. And so I'm looking at the Jesuit oath as a template for certain atrocities that are guaranteed to get the masses up off their ass to lose their shit. And the Jesuit oath includes the strangulation cord. I'm not even going to read this because it's so dark. It's so morbid.
Yep. It's like a Ripper, Jack the Ripper.
It's totally, yes. And I'm starting to see it as a fingerprint, as a hallmark, a signature maneuver. Because right now we have a judge who was arrested because she let a guy out the back door who was charged for strangulation. He had strangulation as part of his biography. And so I just see this as a wash, rinse, repeat. They just say certain trigger phrases and everybody is ready to march into the draft.
Yep. No, exactly. It's the Pied Piper, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, you got
It
it.
is the drone tone that everyone keeps moving to.
Right on.
What's your House of Sod? Does that have anything to do with Iran? And if not, or if it does, what's your read on Iran? Is it just because they don't play ball with central bankers, or what? What do you think about Iran, Gabe?
I think we might be looking at the last bastions of the prohibition against usury. And I think that some of the Islamic prohibitions against usury are being wiped out. And the entire argument for why usury has led the world astray is about to be snuffed out. And I've just recently listened to some people talk about how really, if we're going to go really by the letter of all of the books, all the way down to the some of the Old Testament shit, that loans should only have a 7-year shelf life. You should never be able to extend a loan beyond 7 years. And then after 7 years, there's a jubilee, right? Ending of the debt. And I've just seen people try to make economic models that that truncate or stifle or usurp the current model of how usury can be, endless speculation. So yeah,
nice.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
they got a lot of work to do there because the Muslims are still, there's a lot of Muslims that are still very anti, loan, debt, whatever.
Yes.
So
Yep.
I think it's way bigger than just Iran, but that's a very good point.
Yeah, I think the end of usury is the answer going forward, and what shape that takes is still up for grabs. But I made this graphic. It's kind of fun. This is the after the Lyrid meteor shower, the Eta Aquarid meteor shower kicks off, and there's the muses and this graphic has to do with what we were saying earlier in the stream about forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. And this is just an old kind of experimental graphic that I put together regarding Memnosine, the goddess of memory. And I've kind of reworded the final 9 words of the Savior to forgive them, Mother, for they know not what they do. Just an interesting theory that it's maybe reincarnation is only permissible if we give up our memory from our past life. And in fact, you could almost say reincarnation is only tolerable if we give up our memory from our past life. And then this is the final one. Somebody mentioned it in our conversation earlier. The Order of the 9 Angles and the Smiley Face Killers. I just want to point out how the sigil for the Order of Nine Angles is not an Enneagram, but I think a lot of people will hear the phrase Order of Nine Angles and think about the Enneagram right away. However, there is a certain way to unpack this unicursal Enneagram that they have that might actually comport to the Enneagram. I think I would have to take the four, no. What would this be? The 1, 2, 3 and the 5 spot and split it open. And I could turn this into an Enneagram. But have you guys looked up Order of Nine Angles on the wiki? Have you gone through the wiki website on the ONA?
No.
It's bonkers.
I've read a book
Okay.
that was kind of weird. It was like one of those occult books that like try to sound scary and like make it satanic and shit. I don't know what the wiki says.
Well,
But yeah, is that
I'll
what
say-
the wiki's like?
dude, the wiki reads like a fucking recruiting manual. They doth not protest sufficiently. The wiki is like almost a recruiting brochure, I would say. It is packed with information on these guys that makes them sound not as underground as I would prefer to think they were. So yeah, I just wanted to share that I definitely
Satanic at all?
that's such a played out word. I'm going to call them. I'll call them nihilist. Maybe
They are actually referred to on Wikipedia as a satanic left-hand path terrorist network in the United Kingdom.
There we go. There we go. Yeah.
Or that originated in the United Kingdom.
That's what the book came across like. And I'm with you too, Gabe. I don't like that word. I think that word's overplayed as well.
Yeah.
But this book I was reading was like trying to be that. There's no, it wasn't like, it was like going for it. Like that's what it was going for. It was weird.
Man, and I love that you're kind of picking up on it, that like satanic doesn't capture it. That just doesn't capture it. And in fact, it almost, the Christians will take care of this. Let's just call it satanic and let the Christians take care of it. But no, I think that aspect of nihilist is way more significant, way more significant because it's so militant, very highly militant. But yeah, I just wanted to share that anybody out there who is thinking that the ONA had anything to do with the Enneagram, totally different star, totally different shape. But I will point out the word corona ends with a ONA. COR is a 3, 6, and a 9. ONA is the Order of Nine Angles. And so the 3, 6, 9 of the Order of Nine Angles is a different unicursal Enneagram. But maybe one of these days I'll do a little graphic of how to unpack their system onto the Enneagram conceivably. But yeah, I do believe that they know about the Enneagram and have kind of made it into an evil, something evil, a lot of
it seems like that's what they would do, or like that's kind of their MO.
Right. Sure. It's like while the Enneagram
is scary, so you don't look at it.
Right. Yeah. It's like if the Enneagram is useful in self-help, then they've got to capture it and turn it and twist it and put it to the military industrial complex agenda.
Yeah, these guys look messed. They look kind of messed up. Definitely messed up.
Big
Not
time.
good. Not good.
Yeah, I see them. I see them as in stride with the smiley face thing. You know what I mean? The smiley face thing kind of has a that aspect of calling, that they're targeting the weak, they're targeting the individual, and in a strange way, it kind of serves to herd people back into groupthink more. To make it sound like being on your own is the fastest way to die.
Is there such thing as a healthy nihilism?
Ooh, wow. The vitalists. Yes, the Nietzschean vitalists. They're out there, man. I believe in them. I believe in them. I totally believe in them.
It's like the point of life is to realize there's no point of life would be what they would kind of say, but not like that. It's that the point of life is whatever you want the point of life to be. Right?
Yeah, man. Yep. The journey is the reward. The
Mhm.
journey is the reward. I dig it.
But yeah, that
dig it.
Nietzsche's got, he gets a bad rep for the nihilism, but he teaches nihilism, or he talks about nihilism as that. There's a healthy dose of it, and when you realize that everything's just fun, there doesn't have to be a point or whatever to be meaningful. I like Nietzsche, man. I like him.
I do
I
too.
do.
Yep, I do too. I think I kind of think of Nietzsche as giving us the tour of the abyss of nihilism that Schopenhauer made. Schopenhauer really made this fissure, and Nietzsche is like the best tour guide to take you and show you along all of the points. But at the same time, he's showing you how to navigate the abyss, the circumference of the abyss. And I think he's even built a little bit of a structure for the tourists who can actually come and enjoy looking over the abyss even more than the generations before.
Right.
And then everybody looks down there and they're like, oh my God, it looked at me. It looked at me. And that's a spiritual experience. And Friedrich Nietzsche made it possible. But I think he put in the guardrails. I think he totally put in the guardrails for those who put in the work to find the guardrails he put in there. They're not there it's not obvious on the face of it. You got to get intimate with his work. But yeah, he totally put in guardrails, y'all.
Oh yeah. And people do their or like have done this ever since Nietzsche's out. They'll, quote mine the shit out of him, and it's like, he just said that so he could talk shit about it, It's like why don't you try reading the dude? What you're reading there, he's actually like totally debunked himself. So
my biggest Nietzsche criticism, and I see that this criticism gets snuffed out, stifled, and squandered and thrown under the rug time and time again. My biggest criticism is that he was valorizing the Borgias, the family of the Borgias. And he wanted everybody to think that Cicera Borgia was an example of an Ubermensch somewhere in history. And right there is when I realized, he's not writing for me. He's not writing for my demographic. I'm an interloper. I'm an outsider coming in on his work because he was really given the reach around and the glad hand treatment to the Medicis, the Borgias, the bourgeoisie. He was speaking to people who could afford to fulfill the Ubermenschen vision. But it's free for all now. It's at this point in time, we all have access to becoming our own bourgeoisie, so to say.
I like it. Well, this has been fun, guys.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm gonna have to look into this group, man. This is wild.
Oh, you didn't know about the ONA?
I've heard about them, but I didn't know that this was what they were about. This is actually like a missing link for me right now.
Really?
Wow, buddy.
These guys, I think these guys might have actually even made like the iPad Go 2 video. Now that I'm reading about them.
And isn't it fascinating how much there is to read about them? You know what I mean?
There's so much, and there's
so much,
and like there's so much on ritual human sacrifice that's just admitted to. They're calling them offers, but with the op at the beginning. It's like an intelligence. This is exactly like the smiley face intelligence group that would be working together as a bunch of serial killers.
You got it, man. It's like almost like Michael Aquino was put in place to become the figurehead of any religious expression in the military. If there was one little holiday being expressed in the corner of the military, it was under Aquino's office. And one of the first things he does is in his new position that he was totally springboarded into was to make the Church of Satan. and to proliferate it and make sure that it was like an overlay capture onto all the other religious orders, and then to valorize and exalt and lift up that satanic agenda.
This is what I was talking about. That like I skimmed through this book, Infernal Geometria and Left-Hand Path, the magical system of the 9 angles.
Interesting.
And it's like, and this is what I was talking about, where it gets like, you know,
can you go back to the cover?
Like, is this Satanism stuff? And I'm like they blatantly like make it that way. It's like very very odd. What do you want to see the cover?
Even on their Wikipedia, they're really outright and like, oh, even they have a bunch of texts even that are really oddly named. Like there's one named Bluebird, which makes me think of Twitter. There's one named Iron Gates.
Totally.
There's one named the don't want to say the word, but rhymes with grape anthology, which is like all about doing that. Also to children. Like this is just openly being discussed in the Wikipedia.
Totally. It's so gross. It's so gross and out in the open, and nobody has to hide shit. PK, I just want to point out on the cover there, the trapezoid. That's the Order of the Trapezoid is one of Francis Bacon's early ones, which is totally
and upside down pentagram. I like that Ken Wheeler video, how it's all about the 108 and the Hygeia.
Right.
Old symbol of Hygeia, hygiene. Used to be on old Greek coins.
And I just want to mention that, Thomas Aquinas, in his native land, his family name was actually Thomas Aquino. And so these think tanks have had information at large, including philosophy, on lockdown going that far back, the Aquino family.
Geez, there's so much stuff that comes up under these guys too. There's just all these subgroups and stuff. This is going to be wild. I'm going to have to look at this tonight I think I'm going to be on the show with Franklin tonight in a few hours. I'm going to have to get him to look at this with me a little bit more.
Yeah. That I want to mention something about that. Like, I've had other people kind of come at me a couple times about the Enneagram, and our guy Franklin, he's kind of doing the same thing right now. He's like, the Enneagram touched me in a funny way when I was a kid, and I don't like it, so I'm not gonna pay attention to it. And I'm like, dude, that's exactly what they expect. You know what I mean? That's exactly what they expect. And so
I don't know if you've heard me when I discussed it with him the one time. I was like, I think there's benefits to having multiple, because we obviously see there's predictive power in the one you have. Right. And it doesn't mean there's not stuff that's might be left out of it because we have been deprived of information and maybe things aren't the way. Just like we were saying, we need a new Zodiac to get us off like the... Yeah. Yep. So like having a new one would be helpful too. But it's probably not going to have the predictive power because those who are social engineering us aren't going to be using it. Right. So there's benefits to both. Totally. And the thing that... with Franklin's new system, I just want to be clear that it's not even the same language. Like he's not talking about vices. He's not talking about virtues. He hasn't taken it through the Nicomachean ethics. You know what I mean? It's just totally a different language, but he's still calling it an Enneagram. Yeah. And I just want to point out how what the system that I'm working with Oscar Ichazo is all public knowledge, publicly available. But I, like our buddy Franklin, I believe that there is a way to twist the Enneagram to turn it into what this Order of the 9 Angles are up to. You know what I mean? So I'm always thinking that there is a more nefarious scale. And that's interesting because it does look, the one he has kind of looks like the 9 Angles one.
And Gurdjieff's people are doing different stuff than both of y'all. So
right. Yes, that's a
and
great
it's always
point.
going to be different too, depending east versus west too, because then the symbolism is going to always be changing. And I know he probably comes more from an Eastern type of view than we would.
Yeah, man. The ladies of the rope. Gurdjieff was totally training the lady bodyguard assassins. The Black Widows, the OG Black Widow pimp is Gurdjieff.
He's such a fascinating character in history, isn't he?
The pimp of all pimps, man.
Dude, his like just the mystical stories out there about the guy, and like, man, would have been cool to meet him.
Big time, big time. You know, we there's a word that some people would use for like really crazy sounding names. They would call them Lovecraftian words. But I think that there's also the concept of Gurchefian words. And I wonder if Lovecraftian words are maybe more Necronomicon, necromantic, more about death. And I wonder if the Gurchefian words are more about life, you know, kind of a dark magic, white magic potential in Gurchefian words versus Lovecraftian words. Just a thought. Yeah, buddy. PK's got to take a whiz.
See, I'm like, and I'm so into the. Well, what the hell? Did you know there's something called the Terrorgram?
I heard about it. Is it a?
They literally link the 2025 Trump assassin, like one of the assassination plots on Trump to, I think the one with, is that a Butler? The 2 people dead? Yeah. To that terror, it's the Terrorgram. I haven't even heard anything about that.
Really? See, wow, that.
Yeah, that's the one in Wisconsin. They're saying that one started on Terrorgram, something I've never heard of till just now from the O&A page, which had this underneath it.
Wow, that is fascinating. So it's almost like they're creating a false, slick dissident cipher to throw people off the trail.
Yeah, I highly doubt that any of this was originated on something called Terrorgram, because you'd be almost an idiot to be using Terrorgram to plan things like that. Like, what?
So totally. All right, fellas, I'm feeling it. Chris, you're going to be on the wildest rabbit warren for quite a while coming up.
Oh, man.
Just remember, COR is 369. ONA, Corona, is the 369 of the Order of Nine Angles.
Oh, this is wild. I'm happy that I know I've seen the ONA before, like even if it's just the acronym for it.
Yes.
But I haven't seen all this information. So I'm excited
Look
to.
at James pointed out. Look at who wrote the foreword of that book that I had.
Look at that, y'all. Look at that. Straight up.
So it's funny his name wasn't even
by the way,
here.
James,
I guess it does
one of the
right
main
there,
people they keep mentioning on the Wikipedia for the ONA has the same last name as Kaplan. So maybe I don't know if you know him.
Kaplan's in there.
Kaplan, you have something to tell us, bro?
Jeffrey Kaplan, apparently.
James is gonna have to come on here one of these days. James, you're gonna have to come on live with us someday, buddy.
James is awesome.
Yeah,
he's a good guy.
Yeah, man. Big love and respect out there, everybody. So glad you all came to join us tonight. And look forward to more brain babies being born out of this conversation coming forward. But before I seal it off, let me float this little mysterious potentia. Remember what we said earlier about Argo Navis is a certain constellation as we understand it now. It was dismantled in 1930. But the Babylonians had a different ship arrangement that they considered the stars of a vessel. And the Babylonians considered Corona Australis as potentially their particular ship that may have been dismantled and rearranged to a different part of the stars. And so I'm just going to put a little note, a pin in the concept of the Babylonian boat of the sky was actually Corona Australis. And that is just a fascinating, maybe a reamalgaming of the way we see things in ciphers and creative endeavors going forth. So I just wanted to mention that. In this ONA, Corona, CORONA, it might have this hidden vessel. While everybody's looking at the Argo, maybe we should be looking down at the Corona Australis. Just a thought that maybe we'll see something born.
And that whole thing makes me think of language. I didn't mention it earlier, but the Ship of Theseus totally makes me think of a metaphor for language. Because it's like, if you take all the words apart, or think of replacing a board with a new board, and then it's like replacing a word with a new word, and then like over time you've replaced all the words. Is it the same thing?
Is
You
it the
know,
same
even though there's
thing?
because it's like old English and new English. Like go read, old original Shakespeare, or go read Beowulf. They still call that English, but it's like,
Yeah, man.
is it? It's almost unreadable. So it's like, is that the same ship?
It's
got the same
so
name.
fascinating. It's so
Absolutely.
fascinating. Yeah. Kind of like
But
I was
it's
I
how
was
that carries throughout. Yeah.
yeah, I think I was ranting in one of our voice messages that you brought forward from a long time ago, like the Paris and the Aperon,
Mm.
and how we would translate that as the zero and the all, or the nothing and the everything. But somehow when we try to translate it, we're actually doing it a disservice, or we're yeah, we're repackaging the Ship of Theseus to give it an English derivative. You know what I mean? And is there something more powerful in speaking the old ways? A little more fidelity to the truth.
I like it. Yeah, I brought back that message that was from a year ago today.
Dude, that
I'm
was
gonna
a
start. I'm gonna
wild
start
man.
doing that. If ever we have a stream or whatever, I'm gonna go in the archives because we got it now. Shit, we probably have a few years now
Yeah.
in the archive. But yeah,
Yep.
I'm gonna go back and start looking at the date, like
That was,
today.
yeah,
Like,
man.
what were we talking about this time a year ago?
Oh, dude, that is
See if the meteor
priceless.
showers are affecting us the same way.
Yeah, dude. Let's do that next time. Let's play some randoms
Yeah.
from the year ago and see what echoes are coming back on the cycle to us.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
All right. Big love and respect out there, everybody. Hey, everyone, slickdissident.com. I got the onesies and the zippos and the hoodies and the lighters, and I'm working on a tarot tapestry that's coming forward. And of course, you're always welcome to simply, donate to the old PayPal and the Cash App. Big love and respect. Thank you all for joining us. Look forward
Get
to
you
more
some.
rooms.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everyone.
man. Big love, y'all. And